I'm Make It Do or Do Without Michele, and today we're talking about how I don't want to waste it, especially when it comes to food. Welcome to the I Cut the Mustard show, where you'll learn how to stop stressing, stop stress eating, and start fitting into those skinny jeans. Because whether it's belly fat or bloating, stress stinks. But don't worry, you've got what it takes. You're sharp enough. You cut the mustard. All right, let's get into it. We've kind of been on a stress eating, stop overeating kick, but it's kind of what I'm interested in right now. If you don't know, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book that's going to take you through the mindset shift that's necessary to stop overeating. And I'm super excited about it because I read one about alcohol that was similar. And it totally changed my life. Number one, she was so confident that the method worked that I was totally blown away. For the first time, I thought that it was actually possible, that it could be doable, and that it wasn't as hard as I thought. And through reading the book, I found out that she was right. It blew my mind. And I want to take you through that same process. If you're struggling with overeating and you feel like it's impossible, like you don't know where to start, I'm creating a book that'll go from the beginning, everything that you need to know about thought work, about food, and take you through the process of finding the truth with food and the truth about your relationship with food so that you can stop eating and take control. And I'm so excited about it. So that's what a lot of these episodes are coming from. It's just rough draft research ideas that I'm doing for that book. So I cannot guarantee when this book is going to be done, but I love it and I love working on it. And whenever it is, you'll be the first to know. Okay. And it's going to be awesome. All right. That's my favorite word if you haven't noticed. So today we're talking about one of the bumps that I like to call them bumps that you might run into when you try to stop overeating. In the last episode, we talked about 10 of the big reasons why you might be overeating and why you can't stop eating because you think that it's doing something for you. And this is one of the big ones. I don't want to waste it. I was just talking to a friend of mine during one of our coaching calls about this very thing, and she mentioned her struggle with not wanting to waste food. She has a kidney transplant, and so for her, what I'm going to share with you really helped her want to protect her kidney, and it's been a really powerful motivating factor for her to stop stress eating. So I'm going to share that with you, among other things, and I'm super excited about it. So first, let's start off again recapping the fact that the real reason that we're overeating is not because we're addicted to food, even though it's addictive and that's what's giving us cravings inside our body. Cravings aren't the reason that we're overeating. The reason that you're overeating is because you think it has some sort of emotional benefit. That's the reason that we do anything, is to feel an emotion or to avoid an emotion. So you don't want to waste it. I'm not exactly sure what emotion that would be. Maybe regret that you wasted it. So the reason that you would eat then is so that you wouldn't regret, you wouldn't feel bad that you wasted the food, right? So it seems very useful, but let's look at it. Are you wasting that food really? So I want to take a step back and go over a little bit about what food does inside your body. And I was recently rereading one of Dr. Furman's books where he goes through the difference between real hunger and toxic hunger, which we're not going to go into super detail on today. But here are the Cliff Notes highlights. Real hunger is something that most of us never experience. We are in the era of snacking and fast food and processed foods. So the hunger that we think that we're feeling is actually not hunger at all. It's what Dr. Furman calls toxic hunger. So what happens is you're eating foods that are very rich, like sugar, oils, flours, meats also, because they're so high in fat. These are all very rich foods that historically we didn't eat a lot of until recently. And now we're being completely bombarded with them. Not only that, the food industry is really honing in on how can we make them so they taste the most delicious and they have the biggest hit in your brain, and the brain's pleasure sensor, right? So they're engineered to be addictive. So they come in, they're addictive, your body gets addicted, and whenever your body is addicted to something, it starts to believe that it needs that substance to survive, to feel great. Okay, so it's eating those foods and they create a dependence. It's that addiction. And then you experience withdrawal symptoms whenever you stop eating them. And this typically occurs 30 minutes to 2 hours after you've eaten those foods. So that's why when you're eating a diet that has any sort of processed foods, oils, animal fats, and high protein foods that we would generally consider proteins, then the reason that you feel hungry is actually because your body is addicted and it's detoxing. So all of the things that you think are hunger are actually detox symptoms. So for example, whenever you're eating sugar, that's the one we can all identify with, I think. You eat a bunch of sugar, then about a half an hour or more later, you start to get a headache. You don't feel so great. You're kind of feeling yucky and fatigued. And so you think, I'm hungry because I'm hangry, right? I get angry, and so I must be hungry. I'm hangry. But it's actually the food that's causing these symptoms. So it's causing a need for itself. You eat the food, you overeat the food, so then your body begins to detox it and it starts to feel uncomfortable. We see those signs of discomfort and think that we're hungry. So we eat again and the process starts again. So what happens is this vicious cycle where we think that we're hungry and we're eating and we're guaranteed overeating because of this process. So Dr. Furman explains in all of his books that fatigue, headaches, grouchiness, maybe even thirsty, those symptoms are symptoms of detox, and that's what we think is hunger. So that is toxic hunger, and true hunger is really more of a desire for food. It's more like a salivating. It's very gentle, and it's just a quiet, I can't even explain it very well. It's just like a quiet taste in your mouth or the dryness of your throat, like I am hungry, but it's not uncomfortable at all. So that's the background for this episode, because I want you to understand that most of the foods that we're putting into our body typically in the standard American diet are addictive foods. We are basically dumping waste into our bodies. All of the processed foods just instantly turn into sugar, and it's dumping all that sugar into our bloodstream. And the oils that we're eating so much fat that our body is not used to handling this much amount of fat. So it doesn't know what to do with it. It's trying to put it in all kinds of places and store it and get rid of it, right? So when you're overeating, you're actually wasting your time by overeating. You're wasting your body's energy because now it's got all of this waste that you just dumped into it that it's trying to process and get rid of. So you're wasting all your extra energy. That's why you're feeling tired and like you want to take a nap after you eat sugar, because your body's exhausted trying to figure out what to do with it. All right. So you're wasting food by just putting the wrong foods into your body and overeating. It's like dumping trash into your body. So that's one thing I want you to think about when you think, I don't want to waste it. What you're actually doing is you are wasting it by eating it, right? So that's a great shift that can happen. And that's what helped my friend that I was telling you with kidney disease, or if you have any other disease like heart disease, right? You're dumping that oily waste into your body. Where does heart disease come from? It comes from fatty streaks inside your blood vessels, and those fatty streaks, the fat comes from your diet. So dumping the fat in there, it's trying to figure out where to put that fat, and it puts it inside your blood vessels, right? So you're dumping that waste into your blood vessels and causing yourself heart disease. Okay, so that's what I want you to think about when you think, I don't want to waste it. It's wasting it by dumping it inside. Now, instead of the trash can processing that, your body's having to process that. All right, so that's one thing. Another funny thing is my mom shared with me this story from when she was younger, and she just remembered in high school, one of her professors sharing a story about his wife and saying, I don't want it to go to your waist. So she said, his wife had said that she didn't want to waste the food, but he said, I don't want you to eat it. I don't want it to go to your waist. So on the same vein, that really helped her figure that out. Let me take a little bit of a step back and tell you what I'm doing here, what we're doing. This process is helping you question that idea of, I don't want to waste it, right? It comes from something in your past or your childhood or our culture. Something about it says that wasting food is bad and that you should eat it. Eat everything on your plate. Don't waste it, right? There's people in foreign countries starving, that sort of thing, right? So deeply ingrained in us, we have this fear of wasting it. We don't want to just throw it away because that's a waste. But what I'm offering you on this episode is some other ways to think about it. Because whenever you see the truth about food, you take control of food and it becomes easy to make your own choices around food. So you don't want to throw it away because you don't want to waste it. But in fact, the opposite is very true. By eating it, by taking it into your body, it's actually causing a lot of waste. And we've looked at it so far in the way that whenever you put things into your body, it has to deal with those. It has to go through your system. It's taking a lot of energy and effort and strain on all parts of your system to deal with that kind of food that's not good for you. So that's one way it can waste. And it can literally go to your waist. Fat just goes straight onto your body. It doesn't have to do anything or be converted. It just goes straight there. So those are two ways. Another way that food is a waste is for you to consume it is going back to that overeating thing. Let's just think about what if instead of eating every 2 hours and eating quote unquote small meals a day, you ate 3 times a day until you were full, 75% full until you were satisfied, and then you stopped when you were full. What would that do to your budget? What would that look like on your grocery bill? What would that look like in your refrigerator? I can tell you that whenever I started chewing my food, really chewing my food and thinking about it and being mindful of how I ate, I was eating about 1/3 less than I used to eat. Just by chewing my food, I realized that I was eating too much and I was satisfied a lot earlier. So I am now not wasting food. My body isn't I'm not dumping big chunks of food into my body. My body can sustain itself on a smaller amount of food than I think, and it doesn't have to waste energy on processing large chunks of food or too much food. So I'm also not wasting my money buying extra food in order to satisfy my personal needs, right? So I'm not wasting money. I'm actually saving money by not overeating, right? Which makes sense. Because do you know how much you're actually spending on those little bars, those little snack bars, if you do those regularly, or how much you're spending on a little Starbucks every day and the cups that go along with it, or the going through the Taco Bell or the Wendy's? If you have any of that going on, it quickly adds up. If you buy a Starbucks every day, that's $5 a day times 30 days in the month. That's $150. Okay, that's a lot. That adds up real fast. And those little bars, maybe those little bars are 50 cents and you have 2 a day. Well, that's $1 a day. That's $30 you're spending on bars that you could eliminate from your life. And the other crazy thing is that I've learned from the Hungry Brain book is that these foods are not satisfying. Your body doesn't feel satisfied whenever it eats rich foods. So you tend to eat more of them. You eat more calories and volume of those foods. And when you eat whole foods, your body feels more satisfied. So you actually like it better. Your body likes it better whenever it eats good foods for it. So for all those reasons, you're going to end up eating less, wasting less money, and then you don't have to go to the grocery store as often, so you can waste less time at the grocery store trying to buy all this extra food that you're eating. You're going to throw away less because you'll be eating less. So all of those reasons is why you're actually not wasting it by not eating it. By creating a habit where you stop when you're full, or where you tell people that you don't eat that kind of stuff, or creating habits where you don't buy that kind of food, in the long run, you're saving a lot more, right? And you're not wasting it in the long run. And one more thing, I guess I have 2 more thoughts about wasting it. We can also talk about waste in the environment. Whenever you're eating those bars, when you're going to Starbucks and throwing away the cups, or driving through Wendy's drive-thru, that's a lot of trash that's going into the landfills. That's a lot of packaging that's happening. And you don't want to waste that. You don't want to waste the environment in that way, right? And the last thing is I'm going to mention here is healthcare, right? You don't want your body to be wasting away so that you have to waste tons of money on prescriptions and trips to the doctor later. You don't want to waste your future life whenever you're 60 and 70 years old. You don't want to just be wasting away in the hospital or on a respirator or all of those things, right? So these are the many, many reasons that I can think of why eating that extra food and eating the wrong kind of food is actually way more of a waste than just throwing it away. So you've got my permission next time whenever you're full or whenever you're tempted, when someone brings you some brownies, you can say, I'm sorry, I don't want to waste it. And be happy to refuse overeating. All right, so I hope that helps. If it does, I would love to hear from you. Just head over to icutthemustard.com/23 and let me know how you feel about this podcast. I'd love to hear your feedback. And again, if there's anybody you know who you think this might help, go ahead and share it with them. Click that little share button and let them know. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a fabulous, fabulous day. And remember, you're not wasting it. All right. Bye-bye. What's one thing that's really been weighing you down? Are you ready to kick it to the side? Then join me for a Stress Less call today, where you'll learn the #1 mindset tool that I use to stop stressing and find relief right now. Go to icutthemustard.com/stressless to sign up for that call today.